All right, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Drew Embury, and welcome to our Knowledge Education Series event, A First Glance at Windows 10, What You Need to Know. We've found that there's a lot happening in the technology industry, and it can be overwhelming to business people. So we hope these sessions can bring you some clarity to some of the different technology buzzwords that are being used in the industry today. So again, my name is Drew Embury, and I'm a partner here at P&L Technology. My role is to set the technical direction for our company and clients and help you get the most out of your technology investment. So I'm really excited for this topic today. We have very strong attendance numbers, and I really think that speaks to the popularity and relevance of this topic. So here's an overview of how this will work today. This is a listen-only event, and it will be recorded. We know that everyone is busy, and we're going to commit to a 30-minute maximum time for this event. We'll divide that 30 minutes up into about 20 minutes for the presentation and about 10 minutes for question and answers at the end. If you have any questions, please use the chat function and send them in to us, and we'll save time at the end to answer as many as we can. Following the session, we will introduce some future topics that we hope you will be interested in learning more about. You will be receiving an email as well that will contain a short survey that we hope you'll take the time to fill out, as it will assist us in making future sessions more informative. We hope you'll find this session valuable and helpful to your business. So Microsoft Windows 10 was a mammoth release, and in our view at P&L Technology, it's an almost perfect version of Windows that fixes many of the usability issues that Windows 8 had, while ushering in new stability, productivity enhancements, and an increase in mobility usage. So what are we going to cover today? Well, we're going to start with the first part of this webinar, telling you about some of the compelling changes in Windows 10. We will then transition into a live demo showing you in real time some of the demonstrable new productivity enhancing features of Windows 10 and exactly how you use them. We will then spend a bit of time giving you a game plan that your organization could use to successfully deploy Windows 10, and also information on how to get the Windows 10 licenses at no cost to your organization. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll leave plenty of time at the end for question and answers. So let's get right into it. A few of the items that we aren't going to live demonstrate that we just want to mention that are new to Windows 10, and we're going to start with Cortana. What Cortana is a digital voice assistant similar to Siri on Apple devices. And this is a rather complex feature, and we aren't going to demo it today, but we wanted to let you know that it was there. I personally use the voice assistants mainly on mobile devices, hands-free devices like smartphones and tablets. And so for me personally, the inclusion of it on Windows 10 isn't really that big of a deal. But I know there's a lot of others out there that don't share my view, that really enjoy using voice commands and typing in more English level queries into their computer is something that they really enjoy doing. So that might be something you want to check out on your own when you get to Windows 10. The reason we can't cover it today is I could probably do an entire 30-minute webinar on Cortana, so we just won't have time. If there is interest in that, let us know at the end of this survey, and we'll certainly do a webinar specifically on Cortana. The second feature we want to talk about is a feature called Continuum, and this is really great. The whole purpose of Continuum was to use the same operating system in Windows 10 on really any device. So if you look back a little bit at the history of Windows, Windows 7 and previously was designed almost exclusively to be used with a keyboard and a mouse. So using a keyboard to type and a mouse to control. When Windows 8 came out, it was primarily designed as a touch interface. Now you could still use it with a keyboard and mouse, but it had some kind of weird changes where it really wasn't great on touch and it really wasn't great with a keyboard and mouse. And what Windows 10 has brought about with Continuum is kind of the best of both worlds. The way Continuum works is it can automatically sense how you're using your device and switch back and forth from a keyboard and mouse input to a touch-driven input. So say for example, like I do, and a lot of our clients are starting to buy the Microsoft Surface tablets. So the Surface tablets have a detachable keyboard on them, so they can be used as a laptop computer, or they can be used as a tablet, strictly with a finger-driven touch interface. The Surface device running Windows 10 will automatically sense if you detach the keyboard, it will switch into tablet mode, which then enables the touchscreen functionality and changes the way it works to be more touch-friendly. So it won't try to give you an interface that needs to be used with a keyboard and a mouse if you don't have a keyboard and mouse available. If you attach the removable keyboard or dock the device, it will automatically switch into PC mode, where it's using the keyboard and mouse input mode. So Continuum is a really great way for adapting the device the way you're using it at any given time. And I was rather skeptical when Microsoft came out with this feature, but it has really worked great for me on my Surface tablet. The next features improvements that we just wanted to point out are a lot of behind-the-scenes security improvements. And I point this out because security is a huge deal in the IT world today. You know, it seems like not a day goes by where we don't hear about some major security breach, you know, even a large organization. And what we're seeing today is these breaches are not only wreaking havoc on large organizations, but also small businesses alike. There have been a lot of technical improvements under the covers that's going to make the Windows system much more secure and resistant to things like, you know, attacks and viruses and spyware and malware. And the improvements are quite technical, but they are also quite effective. The next improvement in Windows 10 is what's called Azure integration. And Microsoft has a platform called Windows Azure that they are positioning to host many of the applications and other workloads that a company like yours may host now on a server that you own and maintain on the premises of your business. By moving to Azure, instead of having your own server, you're hosting that in the Azure cloud. And Windows 10 has some features that allow it to more closely integrate with the Azure cloud, which will allow companies a much easier transition away from the on-site servers, the on-site resources, and continue to further embrace the cloud. The final thing we wanted to talk about before we get into the live demo portion is what we call the rapid update and release cycle. So in the past, what Microsoft did is released a new version of its operating system every 3 years or so. So for example, Windows 7 and then Windows 8, now Windows 10, you know, before Windows 7, even Windows XP or Windows 2000. And then in between those 3-year releases, they would release smaller batches of fixes called service packs. So about every year, year and a half, you would get a service pack. Starting with Windows 10, Microsoft will be releasing not only fixes, security fixes, but also new functionality and features in a much more rapid and continuous way. So to be honest, this makes IT guys like me a little bit nervous as we have to figure out how to support and make sure that all these systems continue to work together through this rapid updates. But it has a real benefit on the other hand as these positive new features and capabilities get into our clients' hands in a quicker time frame and hopefully makes a difference in how they work. So those were just a few changes we wanted to talk about verbally. What I'm going to do now is get into the live demo portion of the demo. And I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop here. Okay, everybody should be seeing my Windows desktop now. You should be seeing a blue copy of Windows. And if you haven't already, you may want to take your ReadyTalk window to full screen so you can see what I'm doing in the easiest way possible. Okay, so what we are looking at right now is the Windows desktop. And you'll notice when you first run Windows, there's a really nice upgraded look and graphical feel to it. But we're going to get right into some of the new features. So the first feature we wanted to point out, and I'm going to go ahead and try to move my mouse as slowly as possible so you folks can see what I'm doing, is you see down in the lower left-hand corner of my screen, you see this new box on the taskbar that says Search the Web in Windows. And this is a really great way to just quickly find everything you're looking for. And what you can do is just start typing in that box. So I'm just going to type Word. Maybe I want to use Microsoft Word. So here you see instantly it's found that there's Microsoft Word as a desktop app that's installed on my system. And by clicking that, you'll see it's instantly opened Microsoft Word on my desktop. You can also use it to open applications that you already have open. So we use a quoting application called QuoteWorks, and I might have 15 or 20 windows open, and I don't want to sort through all that to find QuoteWorks. So I can just type quote, and there you see it found QuoteWorks as a desktop app, and I click on that, and there you see it just brought the QuoteWorks application open to the quote I was already working on to the forefront. So it didn't start a new copy. It didn't start another copy over the top of what I was already working on. It just brought it right to my forefront. So that can be really helpful. The other thing it is completely integrated with the web. So maybe I'm reading a news article and I hear, Pakistan. I can just type Pakistan, and it'll open up my web browser. Here we have a map of Pakistan, and then maybe I can go right to the Wikipedia and read what I want to learn on that. So really great way to search just right from that window. It's always right in front of you, and it can save a fair amount of time when you're looking for information, whether it's from your local computer or from the web. You can also ask the search box some questions. So I'm going to say temperature in Omaha. And then there it brings the temperature in Omaha right up, along with the 5-day forecast. Looks like it's sunny and 78 out. I wish I was outside instead of talking to you folks, but here I am. Okay, so that's the first enhancement to Windows 10 is the new taskbar search. There's also been a big change in the taskbar icons. So you see my icons now across the bottom here of the screen, and you see I've got Internet Explorer and Word and all kinds of other applications. And of course, previous versions of Windows had this as well. But what you really didn't know is which applications are running and which ones are not running currently. So what you see by the little blue line under these various icons, you see these first 3 icons have a blue line. That means those applications are launched and running. So it really makes it easier to see what applications are open. Another really cool thing about the blue line is if you've started a process that might take a while, maybe you're generating a report or downloading a big file from the internet, that little blue line will also show you a progress indicator. So you can kind of keep an eye on that progress that's running in the background. What we can do is we can customize this application or this taskbar fairly easily. So say for example, so you see I've got a number of items on here, but I don't have Microsoft PowerPoint. And that's something I use all the time, and I want PowerPoint on my taskbar there. So what I can do is use my search to search for PowerPoint. And there you see I've just typed Power, and I've got PowerPoint 2016. When I click it, it'll open up, and you'll see now it's added to my taskbar, and we've got the blue line that shows it's running. What I can do is simply right-click that, and I can do Pin this program to taskbar, this feature right here. Now, if I close this, you'll see that icon remains. The blue line goes away because it's no longer running, but now I can quickly start that from my taskbar. Another nice little change they made to the taskbar is what we call a jump list. So for example, on PowerPoint here, I can simply right-click that, and you'll see it's going to open up the things I've worked on recently. So here you see the PowerPoint presentation for this webinar. I could also right-click maybe on this folder icon, and it's going to show the recent folders I've worked on. So here's one called Client-Side Documentation. By clicking that, it takes me right into the client-side documentation list, and then you see some files here that I've worked on recently. So a lot of us have areas that we tend to work on every single day, and those jump lists help us quickly get back there after we've closed something down or restarted our computer. It's a lot better than opening up the shared drive and maybe hunting 6 or 7 folders deep on your drive to be able to easily jump back to those areas. Another really cool feature that they've added to the File Explorer is, a lot of times, I'll go ahead and open up the Explorer here. A lot of times we're searching for a file, and we're not quite sure what we're looking for. So, here example, I've got a few files, and I'm not quite sure. Is this folder here the one I'm looking on? By simply clicking on that, over to the right here, it's going to open up a preview of what's in that file. So this happens to be an agreement we use to get permission to do a network assessment on our clients or a prospective client site. So I can quickly see by looking in there what's in that file. I could click on another file, and you'll see after a few seconds it's opening up an internal roadmap that we kind of use here internally. So it allows me to preview and see what's inside that file to quickly switch back and forth until I find the right file without having to open up each one individually. Okay, so the next change we want to cover or demo for you as part of Windows 10 is the Start button. And this sounds like a small deal, but Microsoft removed the Start button in Windows 8, and the Start button had a legacy all the way back to Windows 95, and there were many people that were upset by this. But I'm happy to report that it's back, and it's really better than ever. So what we can do is click the Start button, and you'll notice kind of a new look there. So the first thing that we need to know about the Start menu is we can size it really any size we want. So I can simply take this, I can make it a little bit smaller. If I've got a lot of applications I want to display, I can make it a little bit larger simply by dragging it to the recent size. So the next thing we notice about this Start menu is we've got these most used icons here, or what Microsoft calls a jump list. So you can see Internet Explorer and Outlook and Excel. And this also has a recent capability on it. So I could simply open and start Excel by clicking on the Excel icon, or I could hit the little jump list over here, and it's going to open up any recent files I've used in Excel. So maybe I want to use this RACI chart template. So I could click that, and then you'll see it starts Excel and takes me right to that recently used Excel file. So really handy and a really nice time saver there. Going back to the Start menu, the other thing you see is what we call the introduction to tiles. So these large icons here are tiles, and they're a little bit bigger, so they can be used not only with your mouse, but also with your finger if you happen to be using Windows on a touchscreen device, like a big touchscreen PC or a tablet or a smartphone or something like that. So we can customize these tiles to our needs. So say, for example, I want to add Microsoft Publisher as a tile. What I can do is go down here to the All Apps section down here at the very bottom, as you can see me hovering over. And this will open up a list of all the applications I have on my PC. I'm going to go down to Microsoft Publisher, find Publisher, and there it is. And I'm simply going to right-click it, and I'm going to do Pin to Start. So now that's added Microsoft Publisher to my Start menu, and I can easily start Publisher from my menu if I'd like to. So we can also remove tiles from the group. So let's see here. We see this reading list. This is something that was just installed by default with Windows. I don't really need it. I'm going to go ahead and right-click my reading list here, and I'm going to unpin it from Start. And then there you see it's removed it from my Start menu. We can also then arrange the tiles however we'd like. I'm going to move Publisher up here, or maybe I'll center it over here. And we can build a customized work area that allows us access to the easiest and most common applications that we use. Microsoft has also released a notion of what's called a live tile. So here, for example, you see the weather tile, and you can see it's set for Omaha, and in real time it's pulling out the temperature. So without having to go to a web browser or look at my phone, I can just click the Start button and instantly see kind of what the weather's looking for today. You also see some other examples, some live tiles over here where I've got this money tile, and this is going to show me financial headlines and also stock performance. So there's a number of tiles out there you can get, and you can customize that to kind of feed you real-time information. We can also change the size of these tiles. So say, for example, on my weather tile here, I'm going to go ahead and right-click that, and I'm going to resize that. I'm going to make it large. So after a few seconds here, you'll notice now I've got a larger tile, and it has more room to display information. So now I'm getting a 5-day forecast in addition to the temperature, and then also, is it going to be sunny, cloudy, overcast? What's going on with that? The Start menu also allows you then to customize your tiles into groups. So here, for example, I see it just says Group 1. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to name that Drew Zaps. And now you see Drew Zaps there. So you can go ahead and set this up with a number of different application groups and kind of set that up exactly how you'd like that to be. Okay, so that's just a little bit about the Start menu. It's really been improved. It makes it much easier and quicker to get to the key information that you need. So I find it often shaves 20 to 30 seconds off things 10, 20, 30 times a day. So it adds up to some real time savings over time. The next thing we wanted to show, we're going to go ahead and close the Start menu here, is another really nice improvement in Windows 10, and it's what we call the Task Switcher. So a lot of us are power users. We get 10, 20 different windows and applications over at once, and we want to switch back and forth between those. So there's two ways to do that. One is you see this little icon down here by the new Start menu, and if I hover over it, it says Task View. So I'm going to go ahead and click Task View, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up a fairly large view of everything I've got open. So I've got a help file here, I've got the QuoteWorks, which we looked at earlier, a web browser, a OneNote, and my email. So I can click that, instantly visually see what I'm looking for, click that, and then now here it's brought me into that web interface. I can also use Alt-Tab. So I hit Alt-Tab, it opens up the same thing, and then I can use just keyboard. I can quickly shuffle through and shuffle back and forth. Now you see me quickly going through the various things I've got open. So pretty handy way to find what I'm looking for. Another important change is you can actually even close things that you got open. So if you need to close something from the task view, you can just hover over, and here you see the red X. So I'll go ahead and hit that, and it's closed that help file. So I'm able to clean up a lot of open windows I may have open. There's another really cool change that's related to the Task Switcher, and it's known as virtual desktops. So what virtual desktops are is the ability to kind of have multiple Windows desktops, even though you may not have multiple monitors, or to have multiple desktops within your multiple monitors. So where this is really great is for power users that maybe have 10 or 20 or more applications or browsers or things kind of all open at once. So specifically, this is really useful for if you have separate projects you want to group the applications together, and you may want to switch from working on one project to the second without closing everything. Virtual desktops are really great for that. So to kind of demo that, I'm going to go ahead and go down here to the Task Switcher, and here, down here at the right, you see New Desktop. So I'm going to click New Desktop, and then now you see it's opened up a second desktop. So I've got Desktop 1 and Desktop 2. If I click Desktop 1, you'll notice I've got my email open, I've got a web browser, I've got my QuoteWorks, I've got a number of things open. If I go to my Task Switcher and select Desktop 2, you'll notice it's completely blank. So let's open, say, maybe Microsoft Word. So now I've got Microsoft Word open on Desktop 2, and I'm going to go ahead and switch back here. And you see by the thumbnail, I've got Word open on Desktop 2. On Desktop 1 now, I'm back to everything else I have going on. So this is where I would use these desktops. I would put maybe my first project here with all of its associated applications and web browsers and research and Word documents and things I'm working on. And on Desktop 2, I might put a second project. And when I switch back and forth, it's going to hide everything from the first project and only show me things from the second project. And you can have more than two desktops going at one time. It's also possible to move things. So here, for example, I've got my QuoteWorks. Let's right-click there and see the Move To function. And I'm going to move that to Desktop 2. So now when I click Desktop 1, we see no more QuoteWorks, the yellow screen from earlier. If I go back to Desktop 2, now we've got QuoteWorks over there along with that word that we've opened. So really great feature. People that get into that and use that, the people that really get a lot of stuff going on have told me they've just absolutely loved that. Okay. All right, so we've demoed a few of the great new features of Windows 10. What we'd like to do now is to move right along and transition into your deployment game plan. So the first thing we want to start out is, why is upgrading to Windows 10 a good idea? Well, we've talked about a few things already, and one is security. No business can afford to overlook security anymore. And the implication to upgrading to Windows 10 from a security perspective is, overall, you'll experience less downtime, less employee frustration as they deal with fewer PC issues, and more protection for your critical business data. The other reason to upgrade is the features, some of which we showed today and some of which we didn't have time to show today. Another great reason to upgrade is to kind of get ahead of the curve and to avoid costs later. So many of you are probably familiar when Microsoft removed Windows XP support earlier this year, which made support and security updates no longer available for Windows XP. Many of our clients spent a fair amount of money replacing those machines and upgrading them, and by upgrading to Windows 10, you push the date out that the systems you're running today out further at a reduced cost to your organization. Another real benefit is standardization. So many of our clients have some Windows 7 machines, they've got some Windows 8, maybe some Windows 8.1, and by upgrading everyone in your office to Windows 10, everyone is on the same version, which makes supporting your network easier and represents less downtime. Okay, so as far as your game plan for timing, here's what we recommend on timing. We recommend starting this planning process to potentially see if Windows 10 is right for you in the fourth quarter of this year, so starting in October, November, December, or as late as the first quarter of 2016. The reason we're recommending this as far as timing is that a lot of third-party software vendors have not certified their software to run on Windows 10 yet. So they certainly have it on their radar. A lot of software runs just fine, but we want to make sure that your third-party software vendors, those applications which you rely on for your business, are certified, and the support people that you deal with have had enough time to get familiar with it. Windows 10 was just released in late July, so that'll give them a couple more months to accomplish that. The second reason for the timing, for our timing recommendation, is Microsoft shocked the IT community when they announced that Windows 10 would be free for any users that had a legal license to Windows 7 or Windows 8. And this was an unprecedented announcement that they've never done before. So previously you were spending $100 to $200 per PC to license a new Windows version. However, when they made this announcement, they put a one-year time frame on the free upgrades. So if you haven't upgraded by July of next year, you won't be able to take advantage of the no-cost upgrade, and you'll be back to spending the $100 to $200 per PC at some point to make sure your software stays current. So now that we've talked about why you should upgrade and what the timing would look like, so we want to talk just a little bit about assessment. What we don't want to do is just blindly upgrade to Windows 10. So if you're with P&L Technology, our team can assess this for you. If you're not, you'll want to engage your IT support to help you through this assessment. So what's necessary in the assessment is it's not a super lengthy process, but we just want to make sure that all the software you use is certified with Windows 10. So we typically call all your software vendors. And really not just software. We also need to look at things like your printers and your copiers and kind of everything else that attaches to your network just to make sure it's compatible. So about 98% of the time it is, but that couple percent of the time where it's not, if you go forward without really a plan, you could be in a lot of trouble. The next step we recommend as part of the game plan is training. And people take to Windows 10 pretty well. In fact, it's much easier for them to use than Windows 8 was. but we still find that 30 to 60 minutes of training can go a long ways in a smooth implementation and making the change easy to digest for you and your team. Just a quick note on personal PCs. We don't do a lot with personal PCs. When I say personal, I mean PCs at your home or PCs that aren't managed by your business. And any PC that is not connected to a server may receive a pop-up that appears down by the clock, and it'll offer you to register for a free upgrade. This is legitimate from Microsoft, and that is one way you can get the upgrade yourself for your home PC. However, we want to caution you to be very careful because we have seen some scams out there where people are emailing you or other individuals out there and offering the upgrade or acting like they're Microsoft, and the links they have in there are links to spyware or malware sites. Microsoft does not offer the upgrade via email, so it's a scam, and just be aware of that. The other thing to keep in mind is doing upgrades. We've seen a number of failures on upgrades, and you just want to, depending on your level of comfort, you want to be careful, and you may or may not want to try it to do upgrades on your own and rendering your PC unbootable and then potentially needing a technician to help fix it. We have created a resource center where we'll be keeping frequently asked questions along with our recommendations based on our experience of upgrading hundreds of PCs, and I have a link to the URL there, and we can distribute that after the webinar. Okay, so that looks like the deployment game plan. So at this point, I'd like to start taking some questions that we've typed in during the presentation. And let's see, the first question, give me just a minute to read here. Okay, so one of the questions we have is, can you copy and paste from a file you have open in one of the virtual desktops and paste into a file in desktop 1? And yes, absolutely that works. So the full Windows clipboard is available, so you can copy and paste things out of Word documents or Excel, PowerPoint, any of those things is fully supportable across those virtual desktops. The second question that I've seen is, do you recommend doing a Windows upgrade or doing a fresh load, a clean load of Windows 10? I've always thought that was the better way to go. And that's a great question. That was one of the things that we'll determine during the assessment process of any project we're managing. We did upgrades in our organization, but we only had about a 70% success rate. So there were some machines that just wouldn't complete the upgrade successfully, and we had to do a fresh load on that PC. Any PCs that are older, have been around for a long time, frequently have maybe some other issues where doing that fresh load can be a great way to make sure your Windows 10 experience is great. The fresh load does take a little bit longer, but it can often yield better results. Okay, the next question I got was, I've heard there's a new web browser that replaced Internet Explorer. What do you recommend we use? And yes, there is, and I chose not to show that today just because of time constraints, but there is a new browser, so the tool you use to browse the web. It's called Microsoft Edge, and the full Windows Explorer is still available. Kind of what we found is there's a lot of applications, so web applications, that don't work in Windows Edge. So kind of what I've said is, you can use Edge for your personal browsing, just browsing the web, but we still recommend using Internet Explorer for any web applications that you run your business on. The one thing about Edge is it's a little faster, a little more secure, and Microsoft is trying to kind of make the move to the next generation of web technology, and that's what Edge is meant to be a part of. But it might be a while before it's fully able to run everything that Internet Explorer can. Okay, I think we've gotten through, let me double check here. Yeah, I think we've gotten through all of the questions. A couple other things I just wanted to quickly make you aware of, and then we'll get you on your way, is we've got an upcoming webinar in December 3rd at 10 a.m., just like today. And we're going to be showing a sneak peek at Office 2016. So the business highlights and benefits of that. Office 2016 is not out yet, but we'll be showing a pre-release version of that, showing how that can fit into your business, very similar to what we did today. And we'll also show you a way to license Office 2016 that avoids large upfront investments and can help standardize and keep your entire organization on the same version. And last but not least, we want to invite you to our users conference we're holding this year. This is the second year we've held this. We had amazing attendance and amazing feedback, and we decided to do it again. It's a full-day event, November 10th, 2015. We're over at the Embassy Suites in La Vista, and we've got training, breakout sessions that are designed for not only business executives and decision makers, but also frontline staff. There's 20 or 30 events that you can choose from. And to register, please visit pltechnology.com/conference, and we have a full agenda and other information there. So the one thing when we talked to people last year is they regretted not bringing more of their coworkers and staff. So don't let that be you. We'd love to see you there. I had one last late-breaking question come in that I want to answer, and then we will conclude here. And the answer is, or the question is, are computer spec requirements similar for Windows 10 as Windows 7? And the answer is actually yes. They're very, very close. So almost any machine that runs Windows 7 or Windows 8 well will run Windows 10. That will be one of the things that we'll want to check during the assessment to make sure that the memory and the processor speed is up to snuff. So the last thing we want to do is do an upgrade and have you have a poor experience. But for the most part, if it runs Windows 7 well, and I say well because if it's running Windows 7 slowly, it's probably going to run Windows 10 slowly. It's probably a great candidate to at least look at upgrading it. Really appreciate you folks joining us today. We ran just a few minutes long, but we had a lot of questions, so I was happy to get to those. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed our session.